Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. I'm working on mastering this, and I hope you are as well. But I believe we're going to learn a lot about it today. How do you stay positive in the face of adversity? So much going on nowadays, so much negativity. In fact, I just read a stat that we're at the point of this year where, and I'm going to go to this because I saved it and I wanted to share it. 44% of Americans, this is brand new, by the way, just out today. 44% of us have hit peak stress. And we say that we're more stressed now than any other point in 2024. Why? Money, family, the election, everything else is going on. How do you stay positive? We're going to talk about that today with somebody who, in my estimation, is one of the most positive people I've ever met. And she's dedicated her career to serving others and promoting wellness as an independent clinical pastoral psychotherapist. She's done so much more, decades of practice. Dr. Elizabeth Gaines, our Centurion recipient, is here. How are you doing today?
Great, Stephen. How are you?
I'm terrific. And I don't know what it is that you do, but your positivity is... it really is infectious. I love talking to you every time we get together. What do you do that keeps you positive?
I start my day being positive because I have another day. You know, there are lots of people who don't have days. They're underneath pushing up the flowers from underneath the earth. And so every day that I'm here is one more day that I have an opportunity to do things. So that thrills me.
It sounds like we're talking very much about gratitude here.
Yes, I'm very grateful every day.
How do you find the strength to find the things to be grateful for when things aren't going your way? Or is it just you get to a point where you've just refocused your mind, your entire mindset has changed to being positive, to just being grateful? You don't even try. It just automatically happens after a period of time of practicing that?
I think both of those questions are right. I think there are days that things are happening around you or to you in your familiar circle where it's very, very depressing. But you have a choice. You always have a choice. You can take those lemons and make lemonade and drink it because it tastes wonderful, or you can go ahead and stare at the lemonades and be depressed. You always have choices. So what makes you feel better? It feels better to be happy by far than it does to be depressed.
So I can tell you, first off, what I've learned even in the last few years is that once you adopt that mentality of just being a little more positive, being a little more grateful, that when there's negative things that pop up, you could turn your head, and I get it. Life gets in the way. There's a lot of challenges going on, but you turn your head and look in a different direction, literally for a second, and you reframe it. And now things are okay. Wow. Yeah, things are all right. Or you look at something that you didn't look at previously and see the joy in it. And it could be something so insignificant as, I'm looking forward to going home and grilling a steak. Haven't had a steak in a long time. I got a good one. That little thing could just refocus your whole day if you just change direction. And I've done it before where I've turned from looking forward over to the left or the right, whatever it might be, turning my head. I'm like, oh, yeah, things are good. Yeah. So I find if you're in that mindset that getting out of that funk, if you will, happens a lot sooner. How does it work for you?
Yes, it's a habit that you daily practice. And so when the bad thing does happen or the unhappy thing does happen, you can go ahead and institute what you've been practicing on a daily basis. You just integrate that.
Have you been in, and I know that you are religious
yes,
to some extent.
Yes.
Have you ever been in situations where you just say to yourself, how could this happen? How could,
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Believe me. Yes. Over the years of the people that I've seen in my office, absolutely. I threw my hands up and said, God, you're going to have to handle this because I'm not capable.
Wow.
I felt like that, yes. And I don't want to tell the terrible tales, but there have been, believe me. And there's no way to understand how that kind of thing operates between people when it happens. It shouldn't, but it does, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's when you just turn it over. You just say, take this from me because I'm not capable. I've done the best I can, and that's it.
In those situations, did you truly feel like you were lost?
Yes, for a moment, just for a moment. And that's okay, too. I think that I call that hitting bottom.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Wow. But, yeah, when you're at the bottom, there's only one way to go.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You have it.
I remember years ago, I left a job after almost 30 years, and it was a big one. I got lucky early and stayed for a long time, started very young, and it was a mutual departure. Just didn't feel right anymore. They were, to be very honest, they were going in it was an on-air position, and they were going wanted to go in a very rude and crude way. Not me. I just didn't align with any of that, and we just parted ways. And I was talking with somebody who is very insightful, very intuitive, and I said to him, like, what am I going to do now? Like, I just left. I have a little bit of severance, and I can't believe it's over after all these years. Gone. It's over. But it had to happen. But I don't know what to do.
The door closed.
It did. And he said to me, well, when you're at the lowest point in your life, you are the most humble. And decades later, I still remember that. And it still resonates with me where, like you said, when you hit the bottom, that's when you start receiving. You start looking at things in a different way. And many of us can, like I did, and I've reframed it, in those situations like, the victim, what do I get to do? I can't believe after all this time.
Yes.
Now I look at it when something changes or doesn't go as you expected. I look at it more as an opportunity. Well, okay, there's something new here. So that's not happening anymore, but now there's room for something else to happen here. And now I can get excited about something else because I'm not putting my attention on that previous thing. Looking at it, reframing it, if you will. Is that something that you do?
Absolutely. And I think your example is so perfect in so many ways because who of us doesn't have that happen? Who of us hasn't had a door close or the bottom fall out of the room that we were in for 30 years or whatever?
Sure.
I mean, who of us doesn't have that? But if you can do what you just mentioned, when that happens, then you already have the experience that you know, A, how do I survive this? I just did. B, it is going to leave me room for something brand new and creative in my life. How wonderful is that?
I will say that it's not easy to do that, right?
It's not easy. It's very, very difficult. But it's also making you aware that things happen for a reason. You may not understand them, but they do happen for a reason and good reasons. And years later, you look back and you see what's happened, and you go, oh, that's why it happened. That's how I was actually saved from that. I wasn't punished by it. I was helped.
I am going to share lyrics of a song with you, if I may.
Oh, please.
And it says what you're saying and that we're both talking about here. The song is called Part of the Plan. It's by Dan Fogelberg. I don't know if you remember him. He had a bunch of hit songs in the late 70s and even in the early 80s. One song was called Longer Than. A folk artist. And this wasn't a hit song. This was one of the songs on one of his albums from the mid-70s, but it illustrates everything here. Part of the Plan. I have these moments all steady and strong. I'm feeling so holy and humble. The next thing I know, I'm all worried and weak and feel myself starting to crumble. The meanings get lost and the teachings get tossed, and you don't know what you're going to do next. You wait for the sun, but it never quite comes. Some kind of message comes through to you. some kind of message comes through to you, and it says, love when you can, cry when you have to, be who you must. That's a part of the plan. Await your arrival with simple survival. And here's the most important part, I feel. One day we'll all understand. One day we'll all understand. One day we'll all understand. So basically, what we're saying here is there's a plan. And I believe too. And I'm not even talking about religion here. I just believe there's a plan. The universe has a plan for us.
Absolutely.
Like
for
you said,
each and every one of us.
We don't know what it is. Maybe we do. Maybe at the beginning. But one day, somehow, some way, we'll understand.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've never forgotten that song, and I've known that song since I was a teenager, really.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah. But when you start listening and looking at things in a different way, you pick up on things like that.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's a perfect example in rhyme and rhythm. What we have to do in life.
How do you always stay positive? I know that it's a mindset, but
it is. It's a practice. It's like working out every day. If you go and work out every day on your lats, you're going to have very powerful lats in time. And your mind is a muscle. Just use it.
Has it changed for you over the years? Let's go back.
Yes.
Yeah? Tell me.
As a teenager, like most teenagers, I was highly sensitive, highly empathic, and felt things sometimes when I'd walk into a room that nobody else was feeling but me. So I had a different kind of way of working my way into the world. I was highly emotional because of everything I felt, and sometimes would find myself in depths of despair when I didn't need to. And even though I started writing at that time, poems and painting things that I felt, it wasn't enough. And so I decided that I had to depend on myself in order, since I was the one who was creating the despair, allowing it, then I had to also pull myself out of it. That's how I looked at it. So I started reading things that lifted me up a little bit and kept on going. Lots of things by writers that were, writing things to help people. And I used those and immersed myself in that. And then I started searching for more meaning.
Interesting. So what made you feel that there was things missing?
My feelings. My feelings were so sad and depressed, actually. I felt depressed. And the depression felt strong. And I thought, well, if I've got depression, the other side of that coin is happiness. And I don't want to stay on the depressed side. I want to go to the happy side. I could be unhappy all day. I could look around and see all the things that made me unhappy or would make me unhappy. But I hadn't really taken the time to take a look at the things that were happy-producing, joyful, and elevating. I hadn't looked at those.
So back then, was your faith the way it is now, or did
no.
Okay.
It wasn't strong, no. I would say it was intellectual, but it wasn't strong. It wasn't emotional. Now it's both emotional and intellectual. I'm really an unpublished biblical scholar. People don't know that, but I am. I've really studied all the sacred literature from all over the world in depth. The Upanishads, the Sutras, the Vedas. I've studied it. The Pali Canon. I've really studied because, as I traveled around and worked with all those indigenous people, I wanted to see what they were reading or their groups were reading in order to be who they were.
What's the most profound thing that you learned in all of this, in all of that?
That we are one with everything, and that is God.
And what was your
epiphany? That's physics. That's really physics. That we are a vibration. We are movement all the time. Everything is.
Oh, yeah.
And so, therefore, we join with all other things. And in that joining, we are one. So how would you go out and ever harm somebody else when you realize that you're one with that person? It's impossible.
Interesting way to look at it. And I wholeheartedly agree with you that we are energy. And
Yes.
what is energy? Energy is vibration.
Exactly.
And anything and everything on this planet has energy. The chair you're sitting on, the piece of paper you write on, you,
Absolutely
me.
everything, Steve.
Yeah.
You're so right.
Everything has a different vibration. But when you harness that, when you look at that, I think it's profound when you figure it out. Is that your phone ringing? It sounds like it might be. Nope. Can you still hear us? Elizabeth?
I'm here. I'm here.
Gotcha. Okay.
I just somebody dropped their phone off in front of my space and it started ringing and I had to turn it off. Sorry.
Hey, listen, I grabbed my phone to see if it was me.
Oh.
and I have a different ringtone, and I still wondered, wait a minute.
Sorry for that interruption.
Oh, not at all. It's all, it's human. It happens. The whole energy thing, do you
Yes.
feel that you're more in tune with it as life has gone on, and in that you're able to help people better because you're reading their energy?
I don't read energy. That's not something that I feel good about doing. I would say I sense things, and my sensory perception is about 150%. It's honed because of that being a part of who I wanted to be in sitting with somebody. When they came in the room and I knew nothing about them, I wanted to know whether I was safe or not, quite honestly. So, because I had a wide variety of people. So I needed a sense, before I ever started using words, what kind of a person I was going to be dealing with. And that is a very strong part of who I am.
So I am sensing that what we're talking about here may be intuition.
Yes, also.
Yeah.
It's a honed part. It's a specific part of intuition. Like, if you are in a room with 100 people and one of them is an ex-convict who got out of jail after committing homicide, you could feel that person. Even if your back was to the 100 people, you could feel that.
Yeah. You might not know what it is initially, but the more you figure it out,
Yes.
You pick up on it. It's the same thing as when they say you go to a party or you walk in a room with a bunch of people and it feels good. Like, oh, wow, it feels light.
Yes. It feels good.
I'm going to stay here a while because the collective energy of everybody is up. The vibration is up. Then there's other times you walk in a room and it's just like, ooh, I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to...
And how do I leave?
How do I leave? Yeah, going to come up with an excuse. Got to get out of here.
Yes,
This is
exactly.
not supporting. Yeah. I'm more in tune with that than ever.
That's good. That's a wonderful thing to be in tune with.
Is there a way, I don't know how I did it or do it, but I pick up on people. I'm an empath, and
Yes.
I don't want to say that, but I took an assessment test.
Yes, I did too.
A couple of months ago, and communication was number 1. Empath was number 2. I wasn't out of 34 strengths. I wasn't expecting that, but it is what it is. So you embrace it. How do you hone your intuition?
It's just like any other science you practice. It's a matter of collection, evaluation, and trial and error.
Do you think it's also faith, having faith in yourself and what you're feeling?
Oh, absolutely. But that's how you get to, it's just like trial and error. You have to try and then see and try and see and try and see. It's a matter of working through a trial and error to hone any capacity that you have.
Gotcha.
And we're back to what you used to say about work, You have to work in order to get something to be what you want it to be.
Yep. And I don't want to. I don't say this is a negative, but lately, last couple of years, nothing surprises me anymore. So that being said, I'm able to navigate through it, whereby if you went back 10 years ago, things would change and be like, oh, my God, look what just happened.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
what's going to happen now? How are we going to fix that way? Now it's just like, all right, keep moving. We'll fix that. We'll get around it, no problem. And we just keep going.
Yes.
It's not like
you've learned exactly what you said earlier. You've learned how to hone that part of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And trust intuition. I could tell you.
And trust yourself.
Oh, my gosh. And I'm sure you could say the same thing. How many times you went against your intuition and you were dreadfully wrong?
And I still do not do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, you just know.
I can't, because I know the consequences are too not good for me.
But you trust yourself when you get something. And a lot of people say it's the first thing that comes to you. That's the right answer. But a lot of times logic comes into play, and then you start overthinking it. And like, well, it can't be that easy, but it is.
Yes.
Because we have a gift. We have a wonderful gift called intuition.
It's true.
And
everyone has it to some degree.
Yes.
And the more you work with it, the better it is.
Exactly. And the same thing with positivity. The more you work with it, the better it is.
That's exactly right.
Well, I can't believe we're out of time.
Oh, I can't either.
It flew by. Elizabeth, always wonderful talking with you. Love your insight on all of this, your positivity. And I'm going to say this, and I really mean it. You could be somebody who is 25 years old, or you could be decades past that. Doesn't matter. Your freshness and your positivity and your energy is amazing. It's just
thank you.
It's like you just started. It really is.
That's really wonderful to hear. Thank you. And as I say thank you to you, I say thank you to he who goes by any names or none at all.
Yep. Appreciate you today and
thank
every
you,
day.
Stephen.
And
I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. Looking forward next time we talk.
Oh, me too. Thank you.
Thanks for
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Can I touch this? Where does sand come from? Is this tree good for climbing? What happens if I mix these two things together? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Storing your guns securely is the best way to prevent family fire, including unintentional shootings. For more information on safe gun storage and ways to keep your family safe, visit endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org.
What do we keep in the attic? What's this thing called? Can I ride my bike backwards?
Like I said, kids are curious. It's up to us to keep them safe. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.